My name is Martyna and I am a Glasgow-based photographer. In this video, I would like to help you get more understanding on composition in photography and explain why it is important to notice it and practice composition in your images. Now, in the previous episode where I've covered some basics on light, I mentioned that what I found in my practice that there are three key elements to taking great images. Those are light, composition, and your own style. So why is composition important and what is composition in photography? By composition, I mean knowing what it is that we're trying to photograph and seeing how it relates to the environment in which we find it. By composing and presenting our image, the object or the person, the group of people, group of objects that we're photographing, we are able to convey a message, to give a meaning to our images so that the viewer, the receiver of our photographs is able to find out, to recognize what sparked our interest and why we decided to take an image of that thing or this scene in the first place. So in this video, I would like to share with you 3 tips on composition that I hope that will enable you to navigate through the scene and place different objects, different subjects that we're photographing in particular places to give a little bit more pleasing effect to your images, but also to give meaning to the photograph that we're taking. And the tips that I'm going to share with you today are angle at which we position ourselves and our cameras towards the subject that we're photographing. The second tip that I'm going to share with you is using lines or grids to navigate through the scene. And the third tip that I'm going to share with you is framing, or using the whole frame of the image to fill out the space of the scene with the multiples of objects that we're taking an image of, or perhaps using negative space to single out a particular subject that we are taking a picture of. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a look at angles in photography. And angles are basically points of perspective, position from which we are actually taking the picture. And in this example here, I've got 2 images taken from 2 different perspectives, and they're both taken of the same scene. The picture on the left has been taken from an eye level vantage point, whereas picture on the right was taken from a position that was looking up towards the object that I was photographing. And we can already see that picture on the left creates more of a sensation just of a scene photographed, whereas like picture on the right places the focus on the very subject that I photographed, makes it appear look bigger, more significant, maybe stronger and more powerful. Now conversely, when we use this same analogous angle to look at cityscapes, landscapes, for example pets that we're photographing from a higher vantage point, looking down on these objects, we'll notice that they will appear smaller, sometimes miniature-like, and they will appear more obedient, subdued, maybe even vulnerable. So definitely angles from which we are photographing the objects, people, animals and nature will significantly alter how we actually receive that image. The next tip that I would like to share with you is basically using lines when composing your picture. This can be very helpful, and you can enable this feature in your camera application on your phone from the settings, or from the menu in your compact camera or your DSLR. Now, grids are basically guiding lines, 2 vertical and 2 horizontal lines that will enable you to compose your picture so that it's balanced and meaningful. And the way we use the lines and the grid lines is that we try to place the objects that we're photographing that we want to focus on and the eye to be drawn to in the first place nearer to where the lines meet. So it doesn't matter whether we've got one object or multiple objects that we want to have in the foreground in the first focus, but these lines will help us guide where we can position ourselves with our cameras towards the scene that we're photographing. And the last tip that I would like to share with you is framing. Filling in the picture, filling in the frame of the image that we're taking when we are composing. We can do that by using negative space. In this example, you can see that your eye is drawn almost immediately to the subject that I wanted to photograph. And the rest of the scene is really serving as a backdrop. There's no many shapes there, there's no many colors, so we can treat it as a negative space. Similarly, in this picture, I use negative space. However, in this instance, it creates actually different feelings. So we can play with the use of the visual negative space to give different types of meaning to our picture. In this instance, we're dealing with filling in the frame with multiples of similar looking items. They can be similar of shape or context, and the tip here to make the image interesting is to find something that sits actually in contrast to the rest of the image, the rest of the shapes or colors or things that we're photographing. So I hope you find those tips that I shared with you about composition today helpful, and I really hope that you're going to use them to compose your pictures so that they're not only beautiful but also meaningful, and really give out the message to the viewer about what it was that you were trying to photograph and perhaps even why. And thank you for tuning in. I hope that I've encouraged you to take photographs, and I've encouraged you to practice seeing light and composition, and take care. I'll see you sometime later.